Lavagirl was my first audition for a movie. And I booked it, which obviously none of us could have imagined that would happen. But I was very much thrust into that position. And then they were like, Spy Kids was huge at the time. So they were like, Shark Boy and Lavagirl was going to be big. We had a 3-picture deal. It was like that whole thing of this is going to be huge. Right. And I was very confused because I was 11 years old. Like, what? This is something I just kind of love to do. And all of a sudden it became a reality, and I was on a set and I was making friends with all these wonderful people. Taylor Lautner was in it, and we were like best buddies instantly, which was awesome. And it was just such a beautiful experience to come off of that. And then I did a National Lampoon movie right afterwards. Oh, which was quite interesting.
I was going to say, that's a very different vibe.
It was a very different vibe. Yeah. I did that with Matthew Lawrence and Jake Thomas were in it with me.
I love Maddie.
So we went, oh my gosh, he was wonderful with me on set. He was the one, him and both him and Jake were the sweetest to pull me aside and be like, you're so sweet, but this business is not necessarily what you think it is. Like, really? They were the ones that kind of were like, you need to stop being so naive.
They big brothered you?
They big brothered me hardcore because I was just a little girl, doe-eyed, like everyone's sunshine and rainbows and everything's great, because Robert was that way. It was fantastic. And going onto that set, Matthew Lawrence really, really saved me a lot. We had to call SAG a few times. It was like a very abusive set. They had me climbing 2 stories on a ladder that was something they made. It was flimsy and it was going like this, and I wasn't tied off. They wouldn't allow me to tie off. They wouldn't allow me to do anything. And
you asked though?
Oh yes, my mom was like, she's not going up there, and the producers were like, no, she is, and if not, she's losing this job. And my mom was like, I don't care, we're going. Yeah. And I was a kid, and I was like, no, I'll do it, because I just don't know. Yeah. And I think I was 11, or no, I was 12 12 or 13.
Sure.
And so I'm just young, and I'm trying to please people because I'm like, no, it's okay, it's not that high, I'm fine, I can do this. I've done more shady things in my backyard. Like, I have a trampoline, I'm cool, I'm a kid. And I ended up being so terrified. And every time I went up more, my mom was just down there like, she needs to get down. They were arguing. They had, one of the producers had someone holding my mom back, like literally, because my mom, it was so bad. Matthew Lawrence is called SAG and was like, this is done. He was the one that stopped. He came in, stopped the shot. He was like, this is not happening on my watch. You are not doing this to this poor kid. And I swear I felt like I was going to fall, and I was so sweaty. And the day was over for me. I was like, I can't do anything else. I was like hyperventilating and shaking. And Matthew was just there like, I got you. We're going to be safe. It's all okay. It was like the sweetest thing. But that was like my next thing after Shark Boy and Lavagirl. And so it was a very big culture shock when it came to things that could happen in the business.
It was traumatizing.
I was very much, like I said, I was very naive. And so both boys were like, they were very sweet to say, Robert's not the norm. This isn't the norm either. This was it was very crazy. We had a crazy director who was like, it just, the whole movie went in a very weird, different direction. And
we don't term things like this appropriately. So what happened to you was a child labor violation.
Yes.
If there was a law that protected you.
Exactly.
So that's what happened.
Exactly.
And the scumbags that were trying to just silence you because they figured it was just like you being in your backyard, were not trying to protect you because they don't know you and they don't care. And they're not going to know you in 12 days. And
they just want to make their movie.
Him and his brothers have a podcast, and
I heard about that.
I'm so excited for them because I've championed them. I actually went to Joey Lawrence's wedding.
Oh,
to his wife now, and they just had a baby, and I sent them some like food to their house, and because I just felt like they needed a meal train. You know, like people need support, especially if not, it's your first baby for her, but not with Joey, and it's like I just want to show up for my friends.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so Matt, though, like that whole family is just they're really great.
They are. They're awesome. I've never met his brothers, but Matt, we spent a few months on set. I don't remember exactly how long. And he had like a lasting impression on me. I just found I have a journal, and he wrote in it for me and like gave me like this 3-page letter about how he was just so sweet about just how to protect myself in the business and how to like just all these different things that he wanted for me and that he hoped for me in the business. He wrote me a letter. And I have it. It's so sweet. It is so incredibly sweet. That he is it really honestly was one of the best things to come out of that situation because it was a terrible set and a terrible situation. But meeting him and Jake was equally very, very sweet. He was just younger at the time.
Yeah, he's a lot younger.
He's a lot younger. He was just a few years older than me. So it was kind of like, okay.
Was he even on the Disney stuff yet?
Oh, yeah. Yes, he was. He was done. He was older. I think he was
probably like 12 or 13.
No, he was like 16 or 17. He was playing my older brother in the film.
Oh, okay.
And so but it still was like old enough where I was like, okay, you're not that old. But like Matthew came in and was like just the
big brother.
Big brother. And it was just wonderful. It was a wonderful.
You guys need to reconnect. He's such a great guy and I'm sure he would love to see you. I want to be a part of that.
We'll have to figure out a way to make that happen. We will. We'll have to figure out a way to make that happen.
I hate to hear that, but I also love to hear that somebody in our community of young performers stepped up and actually advocated for you. And like,
absolutely,
that's like one of the first instances I've ever heard of that happening.
Oh yeah. Things like that on that set happened a lot. It was not, Matthews shut down the set like 3 different days, all because of me.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to put me in situations that were not safe and not healthy for me. And he was just like, I worked as a kid. I'm not going to allow this to happen to someone.
Yeah.
And what's crazy was, if I'm being honest, SAG didn't really care much. Like no one really showed up. We called and they shut everything down, but he just, the director, producer, who was kind of the maniac of the whole situation, just kind of got a smack on the wrist and that was it. And we were back doing the next thing the next day and Matt would call again and they'd be back and smack him on the wrist and that would go on. And that just went on until filming was over. It was a lot. It was a lot of weird trauma that I didn't understand at the time because you're a kid.
Well,
you can't. So hard.
Yeah, how are you going to process all that in that moment? It's very difficult.
It is. It is very difficult.
And this is an instance where you actually have a stage parent who's like a parent first, a parent, like not stage parent. And she's advocating you. She's being physically restrained from helping you.
Oh, yeah.
And you have a union that's not there. Yeah. So I'm launching a website and it's the Coalition for Child Performers. So I was meaning to like reveal this on the podcast. And I think right now is a good time to mention that. And so the coalition is going to aim to just collect people through emails. And it's not going to be like, oh, you know who so-and-so. It's like publicly known. At least for now, until somebody electively is like, yeah, I want my name represented on this website. But I think it's time to organize in a way that's meaningful so that legislation can be drafted and hopefully taken to, a federal level, because this needs to be just like basic human child rights. So
I could not agree more.
You DM'd me the other day.
Yes, I did, because I would love to help out in any way that I can, because like I said, my experience with Robert was amazing.
Right.
My experience on the other set was not. And then just being a child actor, it can be such a traumatizing experience, and in ways that affect you long term. And you don't even realize it. Like in my own life, I was a completely different person before the business. And as much as I love it and I love acting so much, it definitely, there's this thing about being a kid and being on sets or auditioning and getting constantly told that you're not enough. You start to believe that, especially being at such a delicate age, especially teenagers. I mean, we're always all the hormones and all the and then you're just, they don't beat around the bush in Hollywood. It's like, oh yeah, you didn't get the role because you're too fat, too skinny, too pretty, too ugly, it's just, and you start to pick your own self apart, and it's such a negative way to grow up that it does end up affecting a lot of your life if you don't realize the trauma that's there and try to heal from that.
Right. And it's perpetual because you just keep trying and people just tell you to keep trying.
Yep.
As it's like that toxic positivity, where it's like, where is there a moment to even process the last, I guess you consider it a failure if you don't book something. So
yes.
Thanks so much for checking out this clip for the Vulnerable Podcast. For the full episode, go ahead and check out my YouTube channel. That link is in the description. Thanks again.